For an in-depth look at the race, let's bring in Lori Williams. She's a political analyst and professor at Mount Royal University, and she joins us today live from Calgary. So, Lori, welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Great to be with you, Hillary.
So as we were just hearing there from my colleague Mark, Damien Carrick, he won his seat with over 80% of the vote. We also know that the Conservatives have held this riding since 2004. Do you think a Poilievre victory is a foregone conclusion here?
It's pretty certain, but by-elections are odd beasts, and there are a lot of candidates who are going to pour a lot of resources into this riding. We already know that that the longest ballot committee has got 200 people lined up to run here. Two independent candidates have already listed themselves as running in the by-election, and a separatist leader in Alberta has referred to Pierre Poilievre as a Trudeau liberal. So it may well be that things shake up a little bit. I think everyone is expecting Pierre Poilievre to win. It's just a question of by how much. But by-elections can be sort of a different kind of beast, depending on who shows up to vote and where those resources yield results.
And I do want to talk more about that separatist sentiment in just a moment. But we know that both the Liberals and the NDP, as of right now, have not announced candidates. Do you expect that those parties, that they will go hard at this riding? What do you think we'll see from some of the others?
I don't think that they're actually, particularly the Liberals, in that they are... Mark Carney has indicated that he doesn't want any games played. Of course, it's an election campaign. They'll contest the election, but I don't know that they'll be fighting very hard to try to win this particular one, particularly given the number of other candidates that are going to be involved. It's a very large geographic riding, and Pierre Poilievre has already been campaigning in the riding and will continue to do so. But to pour much in the way of resources into this riding would probably be if not a difficulty, certainly not a wise investment of time and energy for the Liberals, and the NDP may have a hard time even marshalling resources to run a candidate effectively.
That separatist sentiment that you mentioned a moment ago, certainly there have been polls that have shown that it is at some of its highest levels that it's ever been at. How do you think that will factor into this race?
Well, it may be a factor. As I indicated already, there's a separatist leader who sees Pierre Poilievre as not really being effective at representing Alberta. We had a by-election recently in Alberta where there were two separatist candidates on the ballot. And support for separatism is higher in rural Alberta than it is in urban or urban Alberta. Nevertheless, in this recent by-election, the provincial by-election here in a riding that overlapped this same area, the separatist candidates came in third and fourth behind the NDP, which is interesting. So it's a bit difficult to know whether those separatist sentiments are actually going to get the kind of support that they want in this riding, particularly since we know that in Alberta, support for the Conservative Party of Canada is quite high.
And if Poilievre wins in this riding, do you think that might tamp down on some of those sentiments even more, or what's your sense on that?
That's difficult to know, and I'm not sure that separatism is going to be the primary issue for Pierre Poilievre. I mean, he's got to pitch himself as a representative of all of Canada, and so to the extent that he panders to those more separatist sentiments in Alberta, that could undermine his chances of appealing to people outside of Alberta. So it's a bit of a delicate balance for him, a bit of a challenge, but it's certainly not his biggest challenge. He's got to look like a prime minister in waiting, as a government in waiting. And as things stand right now, he's much less popular than Mark Carney, and in fact, less popular than his party.
And if he does win this riding and then returns to the House of Commons, how do you think that will change things, the dynamic within the House?
Well, we know that that's where Pierre Poilievre sort of learned the craft of politics. We know that he's very effective in question period. But again, it's a bit of a problem for Pierre Poilievre, because if he looks like he's too combative, that is the kind of thing that has been less appealing to moderate voters that he needs to win over. Up until now, he's tried to sort of build a new sort of base of support amongst people who support the kind of approach to politics that he's taken. And he's now facing the challenge of trying to appeal to a broader range of Canadians. And of course, that's going to be an important foundation for him to contest that leadership review that he's facing in the new year.
As we get into the summer here, Laurie, I think some people might tune out a little bit over those summer months, but what is it that you're really going to be watching for? Not just with this riding in Alberta, but sort of more broadly in terms of the Canadian political landscape. What are you going to be watching for this summer?
Well, I mean, there are a lot of things on the table. We already know that this most recent battle between Mark Carney and Donald Trump, some people are wondering whether Mark Carney is going to be elbows up or at least be effective at defending Canada's interest in the face of the United States. I mean, I think those negotiations are extraordinarily complex, and there are a lot of moving parts. There are a lot of things that were happening behind the scenes that Canadians didn't see. But it's going to be important for Mark Carney to try to stimulate the Canadian economy, to build partnerships with other more reliable partners outside of the United States, and also to try to preserve as much of that economic relationship with the United States as is possible. And of course, every time it looks like he's not succeeding at doing that, Pierre Poilievre will, as he did today, be attacking him, posting on social media and so forth.
A lot of moving parts for sure. For now, we're going to leave it there. But Laurie Williams, thank you. We do appreciate this.
Thank you, Hillary.